Hey everybody, welcome to the 24th episode of World Building with DMDave. Pretty crazy to think that originally we just started with a basic map and have really expanded now into a region. So we went from an area that's probably no bigger than 50 feet by 50 feet across, and now we've got a region surrounding it that is roughly 25 miles by 25 miles. So it's pretty exciting. Let's scroll out a little bit to see what we did last time. If you remember, in our last episode, we came up with the position of St. John, where it is relative to Brimsey Rise, where our mega delve is, and then the ruins of a town. I put in a water area here. I don't know yet if it's an ocean or a bay. I'm not really worried about that at the moment. Right now, I just want to put in some more features in the area to kind of expand beyond it. What's interesting, too, is I've got a second campaign that's going to be set here, and I kind of want them to start in a different place, so that might be at least one spot that we're going to put in. I'm going to be using my Dungeon Master's Guide a lot in this, so you might want to follow along if you have a physical copy of the Dungeon Master's Guide or online. The two main areas I'm going to be looking at is I'm going to be looking at Chapter 1 under the Mapping Your Campaign section, and I'm going to be looking here at the province scale, because there's some really cool information here about how they believe to do stuff. So province scale is going to be 1 hex equals 1 mile, and basically it's a map that can be covered, an area that can be covered in 1 day of travel. So a really popular example of this in 5th edition's content is going to be Barovia for the Curse of Strahd campaign setting. You can pretty much move across the whole area within 1 day. Bigger than that, you start getting into like Chult, which is like 10 miles per hex, which is more of a kingdom scale. Ground cover of this area is going to include broad stretches of one predominant type of terrain. It says might have 1 town and 8 to 12 villages. So we're going to make St. John our major town, and then it says to have 8 to 12 villages. So I don't know if I have to put every single one in there just yet. It might be worth it just to have them spring up randomly. And the cool thing about Incarnate, which I hope you had a chance to check out, is that you can always save it and go back and edit things and create a new copy. So I'm going to go ahead and take a village, make sure it's at the same scale as this one. I think it's at 25, yeah. And if we have 1 for every 12 miles, let's do the math real quick on that, like how often be. So if we have 2,500, or 25 times 25, so 625 square miles worth of land, that would give us roughly 1 every 52 square miles, and the square root of that, about 8 to 7. Yeah, so about 7. Okay, cool. So every 7 miles or so, we're going to have another one. So we've already got our, I think it's called Bryn Shinder is the name that Dyson gave it. And I gave it a different name. I'm going for sort of a Germanic and Eastern European feel with this campaign setting. But let's go ahead and put one. Probably makes sense to have one on the coast. So there's one of our villages. We'll have another one. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's about 8 away. Let's have another one up here closer to the mountains, maybe a mining town or something. We can put one over here as well. Okay, I think that's good for now. I think that's got enough equidistance to really make it. You know, we'll do one more here. And again, we don't really need to know anything about them until we have a reason to go to them. Okay, so now that we got kind of our settlement placement out of the way, let's go ahead and look at, I think Chapter 6 is where I want to go. No, Chapter 5, Adventure Environments. And we're going to come up with a few more interesting features based on what the rules tell us to do. Let's see here. Mapping a wilderness. Okay. So if you go to page 108 in Chapter 5 of the DMG, it's got some pretty cool information on mapping a wilderness. It says, in contrast to a dungeon, an outdoor setting presents seemingly limitless options. Chapter 1 discusses, that's what we did, the basics of creating a wilderness, especially when you get down to province scale, which we're at. You think about paths of travel's road. Okay, so that's one thing to consider. How do we connect all these areas? Also, I think it mentioned that the roughly 1 to 2 hexes around it be arable farmland, so we'll have to remember that. Let's see, movement on the map. we're doing an hourly, but here's some interesting stuff. Monster layers. This really starts cutting it down. This kind of helps you graph stuff out. Wilderness area, approximately 50 miles across, so we're at half that, can roughly support half a dozen monster layers. Okay, so that's actually going to be 1/4 of that because it's at 50 miles across. Remember, we have to think about it in long ways. So half dozen, 6, so 2 monster layers. Really, Brimsy Rise is going to nail that for there. But let's go ahead and put in a second one. I'm going to open up my stamp tools again, and I want to find something that looks kind of cool. I think in this campaign setting, it's human dominant, and magic is also being outlawed, and there's inquisitors going around setting down magic. So, and they're also going against non-humans too. It's kind of dark, but I wanted to do sword and sorcery, which could be fun. Let's find a good random thing here. The Megadelm's going to have a lot of cool stuff in it, but maybe we could get something a little bit more gothic in there. I think a graveyard would be cool. Look at this abandoned guard tower. That's neat. Abandoned mage tower. Yeah, I think that's neat. Let's do that. We can put our abandoned mage tower. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Remember, these things don't all have to be scaled to each other, but I like things to kind of have like a tidy look to them. Let's take this down to 50, and we're going to put it a little bit further up the map. There. I think that's cool. Okay, so those are monster layers. Monuments. So the next thing is monuments is in places where civilization rules or once ruled. Adventurers might find monuments built to honor great leaders, gods, and cultures. Let's just put in one monument. It's a D20 table. So you know me, I love tables. We're gonna go to our dice roller on Google, and we're gonna hit that D20. Not you, D6. What do we got? We got a 1, sealed burial mound or pyramid. Cool. Let's see what we got. That's a little bit too fancy. Temple. Okay, we got some cool temples. Got some jungle temples. I don't really want this to be a jungle area, so let's do one of these here. That's a little bit too big. How about we put this over here? That's good. That's a good walk from there. Okay, so we got that. Ruins, crumbling towers, ancient temples, race cities. We've already got some on there, so I'm going to pass that. Settlements, civilized province, roughly 50 miles across. Might have one city, a few rural towns. We've already got our settlements down. Probably could hold a few more. Strongholds provide the local population with protection, so we could have a stronghold. Let's put a keep somewhere. Probably in our more civilized area. So let's see what we got for a keep. Here's a little keep. All right, it's a little big, isn't it? Let's shrink him down a little bit. I think that's a good size. And I think it'd be kind of cool to have it. Yeah, let's have it over here. Maybe that's where our inquisitors come from. So, interestingly, the other party might end up working for inquisitors, and they are working for a noble who goes by the name of the Manticore, and she's like a duchess. So maybe this is where she can live. I think that'd be pretty nifty. And she kind of controls the whole area. Probably should even give her like a little bit of village around here. So there's another one of our villages. Let's crank this back up to 25. There's that. And what else? Weird locales. Let's go ahead and put in one weird locale, and I think that's going to do it for us for some of our random features. Weird locale. Let's roll a d20. And that ends up getting us a permanent portal to another plane of existence. Wow. That's pretty wild. Why don't we put that near the mage tower? I think that makes sense. It's probably, maybe since they've been, do we have something that works for that? Here. And what's cool with Incarnate is if you don't have it within the tile set which you're using, I can actually search all the tiles, all the different styles, and you'll see there's got that. It's not my favorite, but you know what? I think it's all we got. I'm gonna roll with it. Was it actually gonna let me use it? Oh, it's super small. Okay, I gotta crank this back up to 100. All right, and we'll put this like maybe in this mountain here. And I actually, what's happened is it's hidden behind the mountain. So I need to actually bring it up so it's in the front. So we're going to go and click on the little icon that pulls it there. And we're going to move it up a layer so we can see it. That should do it. It's still a little small. So let's up its size even more. Okay, cool. There we go. There's our mysterious portal. Awesome. All right, well, I think that's going to do it for this episode. We put in kind of all of our random features to give a little bit more interesting locations here. Of course, we have the Brimsey Megadove, which is going to be really the center of it. But we've got St. John here, the keep. That's where our probably our bad guy is going to be. We've got this old temple, abandoned wizard towers, some villages we don't know anything about, and then a mysterious portal over here. Remember, this all came from the Dungeon Master's Guide, giving us some really interesting things to look at in the future. Anyways, I hope you liked this episode. Be sure to like and subscribe, and next time we're gonna hopefully finish up this map with some forest, maybe an extra lake or something, and give it a little bit more color. See you next time.